Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Main Street Moments podcast. This is Kathy.
And Brian.
And thanks so much for being here, everybody. We want to welcome all our new subscribers, anybody new to our channel. We feature, Disney vlogs that Brian does when he goes to the parks, and sometimes I go. And we do podcasts, and we just started live streaming. We are planning on doing more live streaming. Hopefully once a week. Anyway, so thanks so much for listening and subscribing.
Yeah, and we were watching. There's been something that we've talked about amongst ourselves that we haven't talked about here, and I wanted to talk about it for a while. And I was watching Prince Charming Dev just a little while ago on YouTube, and I said, you know what, let's talk about this. And it has to do with ECVs at the park. And we mention this sometimes, but Kathy is disabled. And you have a heart and lung illness, and you're not able to walk around the parks. I mean, you walk around the house and everything, but you're on oxygen and things like this. And we get an ECV for you, the ECV scooters. And this is what kind of got me realizing something about ECVs. We recently got you a new mobile device, which is it's called a Zinger. And it kind of looks like it's kind of like an electric wheelchair.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But it's a little different than a standard electric wheelchair. Yeah, I mean, you're not quadriplegic or anything.
No,
but,
it's like it's like folds, and it's very portable.
But you're disabled due to your heart and lung illness, where you can't walk and you're on oxygen 24 hours a day. And I was listening to a terrible story that happened to Prince Charming Dev on YouTube. He was live streaming at one of the parks. I didn't see this video, but in his most recent video, he was talking about what had happened. And a woman with an ECV drove over his foot.
Which would hurt.
Yeah.
Would hurt. They're heavy.
And he said she didn't stop to look to see if he was okay or apologize. She just kept on going. And I thought we could talk a little bit about ECVs because we've got a lot of experience with it because of your experience.
Yeah.
And with ECVs, I understand they can get in the way at the parks, and on some of the recent vlogs I've done, since they've made the changes in the rules with the size of the baby carriages, I've been talking about on our vlog about how, especially in Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom, there's a lot more open space now than there used to be.
Right.
And a lot of the people were taking advantage of there were strollers that were huge. In fact, there was one stroller I saw a couple months back. This was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it, okay? This guy, he's got his kid in one of these huge strollers, and he pulled out a solar panel. He put a solar panel on the roof of the stroller that his child was in, and it was powering a fan and I don't know, a game system or something there. And I was like, this is nuts.
Well, I've seen strollers that are like 3 kids across.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody has triplets or something.
And the new rules that they have at all the Disney parks about stroller size, I have noticed has made a big difference in getting around the park. And there were, before the change in the stroller rules, the stroller size rules in Fantasyland.
Some of the strollers are like the size of a car.
Yeah,
Like
really.
Emily's Fiat. They're ridiculous.
But there were times in Fantasyland where stroller parking seemed to be about 30% of the walkway around where the carousel is and those areas.
Well, they also need to have, I noticed when one time you went to Magic Kingdom and you went by Pirates, and they had like a whole other area open that I have never noticed before. And it was kind of down the side of the ride. And you said, I've never noticed this before. And I've been here so many times. And I think it was because there were less strollers. Usually it's filled with strollers there. So people were actually walking and hanging out there.
So I do believe people were taking advantage of the stroller side. Well, I don't know, taking advantage, but it was getting out of control. Some of these strollers were insanely huge. Now, back to the ECVs, and I wanted to talk about this for a while because I really believe this is just my experience being with you in an ECV scooter so many times, not just at the parks, but everywhere in society. People really get annoyed at people in the ECV scooters a lot.
They do.
And I'll tell you, I understand a lot of them are huge. Okay, you have an ECV of your own, but we got you this new chair that you get around in. But the one you have isn't one of these huge that are about the size of a car. It's a kind of a small little mobile one that we can fold up and easily put in the back of the car and everything. But people get really annoyed at some of these ECVs, and I understand some of them are large. but I think where a lot of this comes from, because I've seen a lot of memes on social media over the years about this. A lot of people that are in ECVs are overweight, and people look at that people in ECVs and think, well, they're just in a scooter, an ECV, because they're fat, and if they weren't so fat, they'd be able to walk around. That may be true, but I think what more likely is the truth is that you see a lot of overweight people in ECVs because they're disabled and they can't walk uh, much, so they don't exercise, and a lot of them are homebound and disabled. And just because someone doesn't look like they need to be in a mobile scooter, an ECV, doesn't mean that they don't need to be in one. And I think people should be a little more understanding of them. And I'll tell you, when I'm going through the park, I know when you're in one of the parks, especially in the Magic Kingdom, which seems to have, around the hub where it seems to have the most crowds, it gets aggravating when you try to get through the crowd sometimes. But I notice people have a little extra annoyance towards the ECVs, and
Well, I have to say this, and I am sorry that Prince Charming Dev's foot was run over
Oh man,
'cause
that was
that
terrible.
would
Yeah,
hurt.
you could break someone's foot doing that.
And so I understand why he was frustrated, and I think he was
Yeah,
upset because the woman didn't apologize.
yeah,
But I will say this in her defense, she might not even have known she ran over his foot
really.
because it depends on how crowded it is. And when you're going through a crowd at Disney, I personally feel they should have a separate aisle or lane or whatever for ECVs. It would probably be a lot better for
Yeah,
everybody, but I don't know if they could logistically do that.
yeah,
But when you're going through a crowd and you're in an ECV, it is not fun. I will tell you, it is extremely stressful and it's very claustrophobic because you cannot see anything. Okay. When you're walking, you can see over people's heads, you can look to the side and you can see what's around you.
yeah,
When you're sitting in an ECV and you are surrounded by people, all you see are people's backs and you don't see over anybody's head. It's very confining and people don't
yeah,
realize,
yeah.
and it's very confining and very stress inducing. Okay, it's happened to me many, many times. This is why I don't like to go to Disney when it's crowded because
Mhm.
I'm in a wheelchair, I'm in a scooter, and you're like pushing your scooter inch by inch, trying to just get through the crowd. And you're so worried about hitting somebody with the front of your scooter or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's like, I mean, how many times you end up knocking into a lot of people, you're
yeah,
saying sorry constantly. So I don't know the situation with him. I don't know if it was like,
yeah.
wasn't crowded and she just ran over it cavalier and was like, "Oh, whatever." That's
It's
possible,
possible.
but if it was super crowded, she might not even have known she did it.
Well,
But I'm still sorry that happened to
Well,
him,
yeah.
of course.
Here's the thing about the ECVs, because I've been with you, and you can only go to the parks during the winter months. We're going up at the end of the Mickey's Halloween,
Well,
and
like fall
yeah,
through
when it starts
early
to cool
spring.
because of the weather with your
Yeah, I have
disability.
like a 6, 7-month
Yeah,
window.
you can't be there in the hot months. You can't tolerate because of your illness. But I've been with you with ECVs, and I see the frustration you go through, and I
Mhm.
really
It's
didn't
very hard.
understand it until the other day. I was watching one of our vlogs where you were vlogging, and the vlog was from your perspective from your ECV
Right.
going through the park, and you don't see anything except people's rear ends. I mean, that's
Well,
basically all you're
and
seeing, and it's tough.
if you're walking through Main Street, right, and you're with a crowd and you really can't stop because it's hard to be in an ECV on the sidewalk. Okay, it's not very wide, and there's people standing there. So when you're in an ECV, you really have to be on the street.
And
Okay,
on Main Street, they have kinda like the train track,
yeah.
and you gotta watch out for that, and
Well, what I'm
yeah.
saying is, so when you're going down the street, you can't stop and duck into a store and look around. You have to kind of
Yeah,
go with the flow, and you miss everything. You
yeah,
miss the entire Main Street. It's not like you're walking and you can
yeah,
stop and just say, "Oh, I'm going to go on the curb." You have to go on the curb where there's a slant, where
yeah,
there's
a ramp,
a ramp.
a handicap
You
ramp.
have to go where there's a ramp. So you have to know where those ramps are, but you're on the road. You're surrounded
Yeah,
by people when it's crowded and you can't just stop. If you're walking, like I
yeah,
said, you can stop walking and just turn your body. Oh, I'm gonna walk up the step and go hang out in the Emporium for a little bit.
mhm.
You have to go with the flow, keep your scooter. And when it's really crowded, I totally miss walking into the park, like miss everything on Main Street. I was just like,
Well,
well, I just
yeah,
got to get out of that
and
crowd,
when you
and get to the hub and get where there's
and
some breathing
when
room.
people are driving ECVs, now the one you have is smaller, and it's like our own. A lot of times people either rent them at the park or they rent them
Which
from.
we have done in the
Yeah,
past.
sometimes people rent them from local companies,
Yeah, that's
and
huge business.
and a lot of the ones that they rent, a lot of ones that people rent are more industrial, and they're a little bigger, heavy plastic to make them last. ECVs are not easy to control. And they're not
No, they're not.
and when you're in a crowd and it's like bumper to bumper with people, they're hard to get going and hard to stop. It's not a quick stop, it's not a quick go, and they jerk when you hit. It's not as easy to navigate those things
No, they're not.
as you think. So,
They don't stop
yeah.
on a dime either, okay? Like, if you're going and this happens a lot at Disney now. I've rented scooters there, and I use Orange Mobility, which I highly recommend. They're not, like, an endorsement or anything, but I've rented from them many times, and they're a fantastic company if you wanna rent from anybody, and I'll put a link in the description. But I rented scooters from them, and you can get add-ons. You can add on a basket on the front, a basket on the back. I mean, you can make that
A
thing
roof.
pretty you could actually get a roof,
Yeah.
a canopy to protect you from the sun. They have cup holders. You can add on all kinds of cool
Yeah.
features. It's, like, amazing. But when you're going through a crowd, you don't want all those
Yeah.
add-ons, okay? Because you're gonna hit people, and those scooters do not stop on a dime. So if you're walking through a crowd, and this happens a lot at Disney, people will just stop. They will just stop walking right in the middle of the road. You're gonna run right into them because you can't stop on a dime. It's not like
Yeah.
you're walking, you could just stop walking. You let go of the gas, but it still moves a couple inches.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop
Yeah.
on a dime. So if you're walking through a huge crowd
Mhm.
on Main Street and you stop to a dead stop in the middle of the road and you get hit by a
Yeah.
scooter, don't get so angry because those things, and if the person looks away for a second to look at what's around them or try to, or talk to somebody, and you stop a dead stop, they're not gonna be able to stop in
Well,
time.
a lot of
So just be
times
careful.
with, when someone's in an ECV at one of the parks, because you're low to the ground, that's how
Yeah. You can't see a
you're
lot.
low to the ground, you can't see. You know how crowded it gets, but in the hub and a Main Street, it gets crowded everywhere,
Oh,
but you
yeah.
know what I'm talking about, guys.
It's scary.
And it's almost as if you're enclosed, completely
That's exactly
enclosed.
right.
And people that are in ECVs are oftentimes in a very high anxiety state because they're enclosed, they can't see,
And you're disabled on
you're
top of it. You have
disabled.
medical issues
Yeah,
on top of
you're
everything.
desperate to not hit someone when they stop in front of you. It's very difficult not to do this sometimes. So, people need to be a little more understanding of people in ECVs. They're not now. Years ago, there was a different policy for disabled guests at Disney World, and it used to be that if you went up to a ride, there was a disabled entrance, and you didn't need any pass or anything.
Then
You
you
just
go
say,
right in the
you
exit
would say, "I'm disabled," and they would say, "Okay," and a cast member would take you
and your party.
right on, yeah, and your whole party right on the ride. And this was a few years ago. And what had happened was Disney had to change their whole policy so far as disabled guests and rides because there were actual companies that were advertising that they would take you to the park in a wheelchair just so you could avoid the lines
Yeah.
and go through the disabled
So they
entrance.
ruined it for us.
So a lot of times I think, and it's not that way anymore. Now to get the special pass on you have to go to guest services. There's a
Right.
special way to do it. There's hoops of verification. You just can't run this scam. And a lot of people, I think, a lot of guests at the park think that there's a lot of scammers in wheelchairs and ECVs too that are trying to get on the rides. I'm not saying people don't try to do that, but if they are, it's a small percentage. I think a lot when I was in Fantasyland not too long ago, and it was a pretty big crowd going on, and there was a woman in an ECV, and it was a rather large ECV, plastic on the side, one of those industrial looking ones.
Yeah, some of them are pretty
And
big.
she ran over my foot. Now, not completely, but she ran over my foot a little bit. It didn't hurt that bad, and I'm like, she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "No, don't worry about it. I'm sorry. It's no problem." And I could see the frustration on her face. She felt trapped, like she couldn't get out of this
You do.
area.
You feel trapped.
So, yeah, and I just think people need to be a little more understanding of the ECV people.
Well, and I understand what Prince Charming Deb is saying. Like, he hurt his foot and he said it was,
Yeah,
like,
oh, yeah.
swollen
Oh,
and
yeah,
everything,
absolutely.
and he was upset because the woman didn't apologize. It's possible, like I said, that she did not know she hit you, but if she did know, she absolutely should apologize, obviously. I've ran into my daughter once at Target with their scooter, and I made her leg bleed. I mean, I hit her with the edge of their scooters have these huge bumpers on the bottom by the wheels, and they stick out really far, and I turned a corner, and I hit Emily's leg, and I cut her leg, and I felt horrible, and
Whoa.
I said, "I didn't even see," and if she hadn't said anything, I didn't even feel it. I would
Yeah.
not have even have known, but she came up, she's like, "Mom, do you see what you just did?" So, sometimes you don't feel like now, like you said, I got a new wheelchair. Not everybody has that luxury, but Brian got me a wheelchair because I had a scooter for a long time. I still have it, and I'm actually giving it to somebody who needs one. And I told Brian I don't like using a scooter at the parks because there's a whole front area. I have a basket. There's a front wheel, and it's too much in front of me that I hit people too much. I'm too worried about hitting somebody. I don't want anything in front of me. I just want to sit in a regular chair where there's no wheel or basket or anything in front of me, and so we found this Zinger and it's really great. Actually, Emily found it. And it's like a collapsible wheelchair and it has a battery and it's great and it turns corners really fast. It's like amazing. A scooter is a problem because when you have to turn in a scooter, it does not make a fast. If you turn too fast, you'll tip over. And also, if you have to back up, you have to make like a 3-point turn.
Yeah.
Okay. They do not turn on a dime. These are hard to maneuver. You have to go back and then forward and then back again. So I got a wheelchair that turns really cool. Like I can turn on it really
well. Yeah, and another thing too, because I know
sharper turns.
I know some people will say, well, why don't they just have someone in their party push them in a wheelchair as opposed to an ECV?
And you've done that.
Oh, I've pushed you around the parks many a times, but the thing with that's hard, like if you're in a wheelchair that I'm pushing you around in, you have no control over where you go. Well,
Right.
I mean, you can tell me, oh, I want to go here, I want to go there, but when you're in a wheelchair being pushed by another person,
It's awful.
It's kind of like you don't have freedom of movement. Even if
No.
you say, oh, take me in there or go there, we'll go, but it's not the same as if you can just go. Yeah, you understand what I mean?
A lot of people do push wheelchairs, and that's fine. But for me, I don't like being pushed in a wheelchair. It's my own personal because I'm constantly turning around telling you, can you take me here? And half the time you don't hear me. And if it's crowded, you don't hear me. And I might pass by something and be like, oh, I want to go look at that. And I say to you, can you just quickly turn over there? And I want to go see that, place, even if it's at anywhere. And if it's crowded, you won't always hear me. And you just keep on going. And I miss it.
Because when you're pushing someone in a wheelchair, you're not facing each other. So when you're talking away from me. And that's why you can't hear when it's loud. So, now another thing we were going to talk about is we had made a reservation to stay at the Polynesian for Mickey's Halloween.
Yeah, in October.
And you have been telling me that you've wanted to stay at the Polynesian since we knew each other. I mean, since
I stayed as a kid 40 years ago.
Yeah,
in 1979.
and we've been married a long time. And I was like, oh, I want to stay at the Polynesian. I want to stay at the Polynesian. And for this trip, you made a reservation for the Polynesian, and then you changed it. You just changed it. We're staying at where are we staying at now?
Well, now we're going to stay at the Yacht Club.
Oh, yeah, the Yacht Club. That's right.
But I'm trying to get to the Contemporary because I really want to stay on the monorail loop because we're going to the Halloween party. And I really want to, I don't get to go up too much and stay for the weekend. And traveling, it could take 30 minutes to get from your hotel to the park, to get from park to park. And that can wear me out. I mean, I get tired easily. So
if we stay Contemporary, we're
right there. And I can spend all my time at the Magic Kingdom.
Well, if you
I'm gonna keep trying to get in.
If you stay at the Contemporary,
they have no rooms right now.
Now, a lot of people don't know this. I know a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't know that it is a 10-minute walk from the front door of the lobby of the Contemporary to the front gate at the Magic Kingdom. And with your electric chair, we can be there in 10 minutes.
Well, I wanted
walking
to stay at the Polynesian because if you know me, I love anything Polynesian. I love Moana and I love Polynesian music and I just love it. And I was watching a few videos of the Polynesian recently and people doing like videos of the lobby and the outside area. And it's very nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very large resort and some of it looks a little dated. And I said to you, God, this is costing a lot of money. And for the amount of money we're spending, I want the hotel to be pristine. I mean, I think for the money you spend on a deluxe resort, it should look top notch. And I said, it looks a little worn down. It kind of looks like it did in 1979 when I stayed
you know what?
here.
I'll tell you this, okay? The Polynesian,
so I had second thoughts.
I've not been in the Polynesian that many times. Maybe about 15 years ago, we went there for breakfast, and I don't think I've walked inside since. And then I don't even think I walked through the lobby.
It's a very nice hotel.
But
don't get me wrong.
What the Polynesian looks like to me, it does look dated. To me, it looks like something from the Brady Bunch. You know what I mean? It really does.
Well,
it needs a major.
It does. And
a major
it's very pretty,
upgrade.
But it looks a lot like it did in the 70s.
It doesn't look like
the last time I stayed there.
You don't think Florence is gonna be there or anything?
Well, you know what it is? It's a lot of the outside structure. It's like wood or wood looking. I don't know. It just looked a little run down and there's sand everywhere and
Well,
it's
there's the
just
beach area.
yeah, I know. And I just thought, you know what, this might not be the most disabled friendly place. I thought maybe I need a smaller resort that's a little more pristine looking and I always wanted to stay at the yacht club and I always wanted to stay on that lake by Epcot. It's so convenient.
Mhm.
But I'm going to keep looking because ideally I want to stay near the Magic Kingdom. So the Grand Floridian we just is just too
No, that's out
expensive
of our bu
right now.
Well,
I mean, it's like 900 a night.
we've
I'm just not going to
stayed
spend that.
at the Contemporary twice
I
over
love
the
it there.
years, but not for a long time, and the rooms were not as much even adjusted for inflation as they are now. But we're staying at the yacht club, and I'm excited to stay there because we've never stayed there,
No.
and we have only been to the boardwalk once, and it was just for a few minutes,
It's very nice over there.
and I'm excited to stay at the yacht club because it's just a 5-minute walk to the boardwalk, and we can really go over there and have a great time. And, the other thing
Unless
about
I
it
find a room at the Contemporary,
well,
and then
yeah,
I'm gonna switch it to
but
there.
at the yacht club, this is the cool thing about the yacht club. It's a 5-minute walk to get to, the boardwalk. It's a 5-minute walk to get to Epcot. It's a little further, but it's very easy to walk to Hollywood Studios from the yacht club
Yeah,
too.
it's a good
So,
location.
I'm kind of excited about staying there. I've been inside the hotel, but we've never stayed there before, and L&R Dreaming, they're another
It's
YouTubers we
beautiful
watch
there.
from the UK. They're very good. L&R Dreaming on YouTube. They stayed a while back at the yacht club, and they did a really good resort video there. And to me, it looks like a really awesome place. And I was surprised you
It's
were
like a
looking.
smaller resort, like the Polynesian's huge.
Hmm.
It's really spread out.
You were looking to stay maybe at the Art of Animation, and this has really surprised me. You told me was it which one was less money, Art of Animation or Yacht Club?
The Art of Animation will depend right now, they have a Cars family suite that is available. It's kind of around the same price as the Yacht Club, and I thought, "Well, that might be cool because it's on the gondola system now."
Yeah.
But then you brought up the point, I have a issue, and I have breathing issues, and carpeting is tricky for me. So the Yacht Club has wood floors, which is nice, but there have been times when I've stayed in a room with carpeting and my breathing gets a little hard to breathe. Like I have like my
Yeah.
lungs react to the carpet
I hope we can
fibers.
stay at the yacht club. I would
So
like to stay at the yacht club. I'm
see, the
really looking forward
Contemporary
to it.
has carpeting too, but I'm thinking the Art of Animation has more kids and it might
That's
have, I
right.
don't know, might be more issues
Well,
for me.
the yacht club to me, because we've never stayed there, we've been there because we parked there once to walk through
No,
the.
that was the beach club we walked through.
Oh,
And
which one's the yacht
I can
club?
get a room at the beach club if you want instead.
Oh, I thought the beach club was the yacht club.
No,
Which
no,
one's the
it's the
yacht
yacht
club?
and beach club. They're next to each other.
Oh, I
If
did
you
not
wanna
know
stay at the
this.
beach club, but see, the beach club does not have the hardwood floors.
Oh, okay. Well, stay at the yacht club with the hardwood floors.
Yeah, it's just a little easier
But
for me.
that I thought I didn't realize that there was a beach club and
The
a yacht
beach
club. I
club
thought it was all one hotel, the
the
yacht club.
well, they're connected. It's kinda like the yacht and beach club, and
Oh,
they're
I
right
see.
next to each other.
Okay.
The beach club, I would love to stay at.
What's so
It
special
is
about.
5 minutes from Epcot. Like, you walk out and
Yeah.
the international
That's where
gateway
I thought
is
it was
right
at. Oh,
there.
okay.
So that would be amazing if we wanna do the food and wine. So we can think about that. But the
Mhm.
yacht club's a little further down. All those resorts, they are right on that lake
Well,
and in that
okay,
kind of that
the
loop.
reason I like that area, okay,
It's very nice
for
there.
us, because you're not able to go up there that often, and what I like about this area is there's 2 parks that you can get to on foot quickly, plus the boardwalk. Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and the boardwalk are all right there that are walking distance,
Right,
and, it would be easier for you,
right.
and there's more things to do, and I'm kind of excited to check out the boardwalk because 'cause we've never explored that. We went there once many years ago for, like, 5 minutes, and I don't we went there, we walked through there for 5 minutes, and I was like, "Well, I've never seen this
It's
before. I can't believe
beautiful. It
it's
is a
huge.
beautiful resort.
It's huge." And I really wanted to check that place out. Never had really the
Well,
opportunity to do
I
that.
think they have availability there. So the thing is you can go on the Disney website and you can keep changing your reservation and change your room. So we are going to Mickey's Halloween while we're up there. So I kind of was thinking it'd be good to stay on the monorail loop just because it's like I don't even have to go on the monorail. I could just zip on over in my wheelchair and be at the park in
Yeah.
10 minutes. That would cause me less stress because for somebody like me, traveling from the hotel, if a hotel's kind of far away, and sometimes we drive and sometimes we take the bus, and it can be a little stressful for me. I just get a little anxiety. I like to be, get to the park quickly. So I really am trying to plan where we stay based on the park we're going to go to. So since we're going to Mickey's Halloween, I kind of want to stay closer to Magic
Well,
Kingdom.
what I'm thinking
But
about
if
doing
we go to the yacht club, we can do Epcot at the
Well, what
same
I'm
time.
thinking about doing, like, if we stay at the, yacht club, is we might do something that I don't do very often, and that's splurge, okay? Because 'Cause I'm not a
No,
splurger.
you, d-
I'm not a splurger,
you
believe me, I'm
don't.
not a splurger.
I can attest.
But, I think maybe what we might do is, splurge to take the minivan at least back to the hotel after the party, because they get you there, they get you in that luxury minivan,
Yeah.
and they take it. I know it's a few dollars, and believe me, it'd be a big splurge and something I would
Yeah.
not do
Yeah.
under a
We'll
normal
see. I don't even
situation.
know if I want to do that.
Well, you don't get to go that often. And, so, to kinda get back to what we were talking about, like what we're
We'll
talking
see.
about
We'll
now,
see where we stay.
when someone is disabled or has any type of special needs, there's all kind. You think people have anxiety that are there on a regular day? You see some of that Disney anxiety when people are really, laying into each other, some of these families, because 'cause they're so upset. When someone has special needs or they have a disability or something, there's an added layer to stress that you don't realize.
There is. It's
Yeah.
really stressful.
Well,
And like
yeah.
you said, like my best friend has MS and she used to live in Florida. We went to high school together. She lives in Utah now, but she hasn't been to Disney in a long, long time. But she would need a scooter if she went, and you would never know she was disabled by looking at her. I mean, me, you can tell because I'm on oxygen, but you would never know. She looks like a perfectly healthy person. She's my age, 48, and you would never know. She looks totally healthy, totally fine, but you never know. But she can't walk more
Yeah.
than a quarter of a mile without starting to have a limp
Yeah.
and having problems because of her MS. You never know what people are going through, and I think it's true when you see people that are overweight in scooters, don't assume they're in a scooter because they're overweight. They're probably overweight because they're disabled and they
That's
can't
right.
walk, they can't do a lot. They might have, problems that prevent them from exercising. It's really hard to stay fit
Well,
when you're
and
disabled.
I'll tell you, I don't
It's
wanna
challenging.
if you've seen this video, you'll know who it is, 'cause there's a YouTuber who made a video about this. They didn't make a video about it, but they talked about this in one of their videos, and I'm not gonna say who, 'cause I don't wanna highlight their problem. But there was a YouTuber who was getting, really attacked a little bit, on YouTube, on the comments from viewers because they went through they used a disability pass to get onto a ride,
Mhm.
and some people had made some comments on their YouTube channel video that, "Oh, you're using the disability pass," like they were, running a scam
Scamming the
here.
system, yeah.
And they talked about this, and a person that was with them in their party has a disability that you can't tell. You can't
No,
see it, you
you
can't
can't
tell.
always tell.
So, you gotta be a little, understanding of people that are in ECVs, people that are disabled, because you really don't know. Just because someone doesn't look like they have an issue doesn't mean they don't.
Well, and I think people, they look at somebody in an ECV and they think, and I've even done this. I've even, before I was using one, and they'll look at somebody and say, well, they're just lazy. They just don't want to walk around the
Or they're just
park.
overweight, and
They
they're
just want to,
overweight and
they
they need
just
a
want to
scooter.
sit the whole time and
No,
this and
it's
that.
not that way.
Being in an ECV is not fun for me. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I would much rather walk, stretch my legs and see everything and be able to look over people's heads and take pictures and enjoy myself. Now, maybe there are people that really like being disabled, but I hate it. I mean, I've actually had people. I remember I was at the grocery store once and a woman said to me, "Oh, you're so lucky you get to shop while sitting down." And I
Yeah.
was like, and I said to her, and I usually don't say things like this. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm so lucky to be disabled." I mean,
Yeah.
it's such an insensitive thing. I know people don't realize what they're saying, but it is not fun being disabled. It is not fun being in a wheelchair or a scooter. People would much rather walk and have that independence that you do not have
You
being
know
in,
what?
and it's very confining and claustrophobic and very anxiety inducing,
What
I
would
will
you
say.
think if I know this sounds like a ridiculous idea, okay? But what if they did, like at different parks, they do a thing where they have like pass holder night or DVC. What if they did like a special early magic hour for people that are disabled and ECVs, or a special night for that? Do you think that's like a crazy idea?
I think it's a great idea, but I hope since they're disabled, they would not charge them extra
No,
to
I know,
go
exactly.
in. But I
Yeah.
think the problem is people would take it. There are people that would take
What,
advantage of
they have to
that.
bring a doctor's note?
I mean, how would you prove
Something.
it exactly?
Yeah.
I mean, people would say, "Well, I'll just rent a scooter for $50 and I can get in this early magic
It
event
might be
and have no
overcrowded. If
lines."
they did it, it actually might be overcrowded. There might be too many ECVs then.
I tell you, I remember you and I were a long time ago, you and I went to Disney, and this was when Emily was little, and you and I went, just the two of us. So I think we were like burned out from having a baby. And remember, we went up and our parents watched Emily, and we
Yeah.
went up for like a weekend, just the two of us. And I was in a scooter or a wheelchair or something, and this was when they allowed you to go on the ride exit. Okay, and they still do that on Spaceship Earth, by the way, and some
Yeah.
rides do. But back then, I could get on I could get on the Snow White or whatever ride it was. I could get on any ride.
Peter Pan,
go right through the exit. They'd let you on, so they stopped doing that. But we were on a ride, Spaceship Earth, and they still do this anyway. And there was a couple in front of us, and they had two twin boys
Oh, yeah.
that were they were like had cerebral palsy, like my cousin Haley.
Yeah.
And they were like in these huge, massive wheelchairs that are like, something like probably cost $50,000. These things are like, these huge wheelchairs that like where they have like ventilators or something. And they had two twins that were both like this. And we kind of followed them through the park because they kind of went on every ride as we went on, and we were all going through the exits together and going on the rides together. Those two people, let me tell you, they're like the biggest heroes. They took them on every ride at Disney. They stopped, they went on every exit. They stopped the ride. That father carried those kids out of all those wheelchairs, every wheelchair, put them on the ride, strapped them in so they could experience that. And they did that for every ride we were there. It was incredible to me. It's really hard. I don't think people realize how hard it is to be disabled.
No, it's tough. It's tough.
Really frustrating.
Yeah,
people would
right.
much rather just walk and have that freedom.
Yeah.
But, if you do hit somebody, obviously,
you could apologize.
Please apologize. But don't think because somebody hits you that they've done it on purpose or that they're just being rude. They might not even realize they did it.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, like I said, I hit my daughter in Target with a scooter, and I didn't even realize I did it till she said, "Mom, I'm bleeding."
Yeah.
I was like, oops. So, those things can be dangerous. They're not easy to maneuver, by the way. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, guys. And please leave comments on your experience with being disabled or with disabled people. I'm sure you guys have some interesting stories. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will see you guys in the parks.